I know what's on your mind. You were thinking of really bizarre travel destinations for the month of June. And I've got one for you. It's a little town called Minsk, which rhymes with Pinsk, which has nothing to do with Minsk, but was the birthplace of Richard Kapuscinski. We were talking about him a little bit, the travel writer and political writer. We were talking about him a little bit last night. I'd like to welcome in the studio Artur Gordievsky.
Hello, it's a pleasure.
Bravo. And Ogud Ujimbo and Tony McFarland Gonzalez. Tony, you said nothing last night, but you're going to say something now, I hope. We were talking about Belarus in the last show. Tony, have you ever been there? Have you ever wanted to go? What's your idea of it?
Well, imagine that Minsk is like a Bydgoszcz of Belarus.
No, Doc, I've always wanted to. Yeah, thanks, Olgerd.
That's good.
No, I've always wanted to go, but I just never got the chance to, just because of my background. So I didn't want to get caught in there.
Yeah, exactly. You would be, I was wondering if they were going to give me a hard time being a journalist, but they didn't bother me. Yeah, they probably followed us, but they didn't bother me. Yeah, in either place. How long
ago was that?
Sorry?
How long ago was that?
Well, once I went to the hockey match. That must have been 10 years now, something like that. When they opened up for the international hockey matches, and you could go in for a period of 5 days with no visa. If you went in through the airport in Minsk, you had to stay in Minsk, but, and you had to have hockey tickets. And, I'm
you
sure...
like hockey? Are you a hockey man?
Not so much, but I liked it more when I was a kid. I don't really follow it anymore.
Have you ever been to a hockey game?
Many times, yeah. Okay. When I was a kid, yeah. And we used to play street hockey all the time.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Respect.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked that. I was pretty good. It's kind of like field hockey, but played on cement. It's very similar, yeah. And that was a lot of fun. But anyway, we went for the championships, and I went in a group of people, some Finns and Canadians and people who knew more about, I was the only American, people who knew more about hockey than I did and were more dedicated to it. But it was still, I went along for the illuminating experience, and it was illuminating. Because I'll tell you, the downtown main boulevard of Minsk is as pretty a street as you're likely to see anywhere in any major city. It's a really grand boulevard in the French sense. Wouldn't look out of place in Paris. It goes, you can mount a hill going right up into the center of the town where there's a cement park with an underground shopping center. Do you remember that, Olgerd? Going there?
Never been there, but yeah, I know about that.
You know about it. It's quite famous, I think, yeah. And it was very impressive. There's also a park, which you may have heard of, all of you, I suppose, where it has a little house where Lenin was up to no good and making plans for the revolution.
Well, I can imagine actually somebody making a tour of the ex-Lenin places. Like in Poland, there's also a little hut and he was up to no good. In Finland, there's also a place he took a refuge in. In Switzerland.
Yeah, somebody should have kept him out of huts.
You see, there are many different things that are being told about Lenin, what he was doing in those huts. But definitely he was planning the revolution, and all the results we are living with until now.
Yeah. Yeah, if only he could have had 5-star accommodation, the revolution might have been averted. Of course, my theory about the revolution is that
Where did you stay in Minsk? Is there any good accommodation?
Stayed in a rented apartment, and it was very, very nice. It was near the casino, just off, between that sort of park and the downtown area. Not too far from the arena, as I remember. No, it was. How did we get to the arena? I think we rode the train out. No, we took taxis out there. But you could ride the train. You could walk to the metro and ride it out there. They have a pretty efficient metro there.
In case anybody wants to travel to Belarus, just don't do it now.
Yeah, don't do it now. That's the point. One can only dream.
We're in 2023, if you're listening to it on YouTube, and you don't travel to Belarus right now, I remind you that the case of Protasevich when he was just traveling over Belarus and they took him down completely illegally with the military planes in order to arrest one guy, Protasevich.
Yeah, when was that?
A few years ago,
Yeah,
he
it was
was
just a
just
few years ago. They
pardoned,
took down a plane. Yeah.
and he was just pardoned. It was in 2021, I believe.
Yeah.
And he was arrested on the plane, completely illegally taken down because it was international plane, civilian completely plane. He was arrested and sentenced to 8 years in prison, I believe, and he was pardoned a couple of days ago. Well, because they broke him.
My goodness. Yeah, it's a dangerous place. That's the point. And as Tony says, another reason he didn't go was because with a background in special forces and intelligence is not something you want to show up and put yourself at their mercy.
Oh, he's
People
no
forget that.
Protasevich.
There's so many
He's
apologists.
no Protasevich.
There's so many apologists for the Russians, but I always say, name one thing they do better than we do in the West. Just one. Just name one.
They lie and spy very well.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's all we got for tonight. See you tomorrow night.